behind this lattice you can see my coiled drip tubing, and this is the same drip tubing I used in my raised beds right over there. There's a problem when you get this from manufacturer. It comes coiled. It's even coiled much tighter than it is here now, and I've used this before in previous garden, the year before in the previous garden. But even so, when you coil it, it becomes a bear. And I'll show you what I'm talking about here. You see how the coil here, it's not wanting to lay flat and nice and pretty. This one's pretty good, pretty warped as well. I'm going to show you what I've done, what I've discovered that'll help. Now I've tried, like here, I've tried heating it, and heating it, that just eats, with the heat gun, just eats too much electricity to try to do that individually, and I would have to take it apart as well. I've initially tried running water through it for a long time, just to see if that would help kind of straighten it out. It didn't. If it was hot in the dead of summer, it probably would. But also I've tried weaving these are spare lines for this right here. These are the same size, so I have spare lines. But I tried weaving in between the fence to see if time would do it. So let me show you what I discovered, and I think it's a really cool fix that I would share in case you ever have to do it yourself. Each one of these beds connected to each other by a main water supply line, which is here. Comes in here. There's a T here that I've disconnected, and it goes over to this side. Now this has a disconnect thing so that I could take it apart and work on it. So I've disconnected those, and now I'm going to put them up on here, and I'm essentially going to stretch it, put it under tension for a period of at least a few days. I'll check and see how long it takes to do it. So the lower part here are these two, the lower part of this trellis are these two beds, and I zip tied the ends here to the trellis here. Now these fittings here hold this really snugly, so I don't anticipate any issues with them coming out. Like I said, I zip tied them to this, and those are 4-inch zip ties. I think you get like I think I paid like $6 or $7 for 1,000 of them, so they're really inexpensive, and I use them for all kinds of things. So I did it to this one and this one. Now on the other end, I'm going to put up what I call a trucker's hitch. Well, it is a trucker's hitch. All right, I've got loosely tied up here, and the way I secure it is, like I said, with the trucker's hitch. But a trucker's hitch, what I did was I tied an overhand. I just took and made a loop like that and just tied it back, and makes a really secure loop. And this one is particularly probably about 2 foot long. So I take the other end that the zip tie is holding, the other side, and I take and I route this through around the fitting here. The fitting is got the most stability here, and it's straightly across from the zip tie. Now I take the end and I wrap it back through the loop like so. Okay, I hope this is in the camera well enough for you. I've got it attached to the fence. And so what I do is I hold this end here still, and I pull this until it gets tight. And when it gets tight, okay, I take and I pinch off with my fingers here where it's looped around, and I make another loop, and I pull it through just like that, and it creates a lot of tension right there. And what that does is it straightens out this pipe here. I've got another one that's on here loose down below. I don't know if you can see this, but I'm gonna go ahead and do it. And I do the same thing with this one. Put it under a good bit of tension there. And just like that, that's all there is to it. That's a trucker's hitch. So let me take you here and show you. Now you can see that this is quite a bit straighter than it was. And what I'll do now is I'll put a zip tie right here, and we'll keep it under this tension where it's straight like this. I'll come back after a couple days. Now this is the beginning of February, and so I have plenty of time to do this. Plus it'll be a good idea to store these when it's not growing season too. So when you pull this at the same time doing this, it pulls the tension of the fence, and it creates a bow, a little bit of a bow here. And that bow, when I secure a zip tie to it, see, it'll pull it like this, and that'll further stretch it. And so that's the reason why I put a zip tie in the middle. Just want to show you the string I'm using. It's just basically tomato twine that, you know, it's not really flimsy, but it's, you know, not very thick, but it has, I think, a tensile strength of like 60 pounds or something like that. It does great. I use this to tie off all kinds of things. I make trellises and netting, and of course I use it for tomatoes and other vegetables as well. So these drip lines were pretty gnarly before, all over the place. So I'm going to slow down and show you what I did. I took the beds from here and I put it on the lower area here, and I took the drip irrigation rather, and I took the drip irrigation from these two beds and then I put it up higher. And the reason why I did that is because every other bed doesn't have a trellis. And so let's look at it up close. I started on the ends here and I put a zip tie, a little 4-inch zip tie, and I zipped it to the trellis here and here, and on the opposite side here and here. Now this is the line that connects the two beds together, so all I have to do is lift it over when I go to put them back up, back in the beds. Okay, so these are the fittings, and they're pretty darn tight in the drip line here. It's just the way it worked. I actually tore up my hand doing all this for a couple, 3 days. Just really tore up my hand. But anyway, the zip tie is affixed to the fitting, and so there's not a lot of stress on a weak area that could indent, like maybe the drip tubing itself. And so the drip tubing is straight all the way across now. And on the other side, I've took the trucker's hitch, which allows me to provide tension, and then I can secure it. So these are pretty darn tight, and I imagine over the next day or two those are going to loosen, and then I'll just pull the quick release here and tighten it a little bit more. So it's also, the string is tied around the fittings and pulled as tight as I could get it. Now before I did that, because this is tomato twine and I can break it pretty easy, I took my hand and I, like this, and I stretched it straight, and then I pulled this at the same time with one hand. This hand I did it this way, and with my left hand I pulled this a little bit tighter. And what that did was it pulled the trellis in a little bit here, and it bowed it out a little bit over here. See, because it's not incredibly taut, these trellises. The main thing with the trellis is an up and down weight holding capacity. And so when I secured it, I got it as tight as I could, and then these are pretty darn straight all the way across. So the next thing to do is wait a couple days, check tension, and let the I'll call it memory, the memory that's in the pipes of the curve coiled pipe when it comes from the manufacturer, that relax or release, whatever you want to call it. So I'll bring you back in a couple days. So it's the next day now, and I'm checking to make sure that none of this tomato twine is broken and that it's still under tension. So I went around to every trellis and every drip tubing here, and I checked to make sure it's still under stress, because we got to stress this line here to get the kink out. How long, I don't know. I'll undo one probably tomorrow after a couple days of it to see how nicely, if it's flat and all that. Hey everybody, today is the day I'm gonna take down the drip irrigation lines. We've had them up here for a while now, probably a couple weeks or so, and it'll be interesting to see if it worked pretty good for me. They were pretty mangly, as you've seen in the video. I'm sure it's been a while since I took the video. One thing I know for sure though is I like storing them on the trellis. That way I can put them up here really easily. I can do it with just tomato twine next time instead of zip ties, or any combination. And it'll allow me to get access to the beds here and just do whatever I need to do with the beds with this out of the way. So I'm going to go in here and I'm going to take these off and put them down in the beds and just get a look and see how they fared.
I've got some little snips here that I use with zip ties. First one's done. When these trucker hitches out, it's pretty simple. I'm going to set this trash down. That's what I call trash when it's no longer useful. And cut. I'm going to put it down here for now, along with the snips, and then I'm going to bring this up and over.
Now, when we go on vacation to Port Aransas here in a couple weeks, I'm going to water these two beds and the two that are behind the camera. So I need to set these up ahead of time. Normally I would wait till before planting, I guess. And but I've got grapes in here, and I've got some other stuff over there. So I want to this way. I want to get the auto watering capability up and going.
That looks to be significantly better. I'm hooking this line, which carries it over to the two beds. I don't think you can see me in the camera right now, but so one line here. This could be a little spaced a little bit better, but it's actually pretty darn good. So use that and turn a little bit within the little fittings, which will help. And then once I planted them, I can put some rice hulls on top, and that'll behave like a mulch. Okay, that's why I do this. I'll get these up closer to the grapes here. That's pretty good.
All right, that's it. I can work with it. It helped for sure. And I think these two, or maybe it was these two, were the worst. And they're significantly better, so that's a good thing. I'm going to call it on this video. I'll probably show my auto watering setup before I go, and just give you an idea how that's going to work. I can control it with my phone, and I have a camera on the beds too, so I can see what's actually going on. Thanks for watching, guys.
How long do we gotta stay here for people we don't know in one lines? All of the clothes are designer, fast cars, and who knows who. Yeah, I know what they wanna say. They're gonna ask me if I'm gonna make it. I don't care if I'm gonna have to fake it. can be real.